Good evening, fourth grade. Today we're gonna represent decimals on a number line. Just tenths today. We're not gonna do hundreds till tomorrow. So representing decimals on a number line, tenths. Please label that as the next page in your math notebook. And when you've done that, close it up and give me your full concentration. A couple things I want to review before we start. First thing, let's talk about fractions on a number line. Since fractions and decimals are so similar, if I wanted to represent, say, the fraction 3/10 on a number line, if you want to remember how to do that. So that is between 0 and 1. That's like a part of a whole. So I would make my number line go from 0 to 1. And then I've got to partition it into tenths, into 10 parts. Remember, this is 1, so this is going to be 10 tenths. So I've got to have 9/10 before that. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then that's 10/10. So I put in 9 partitions to make tenths, and then 3/10 would be right 1/10, 2/10. That would be 3/10. That's how I do a fraction on a number line. And decimals are going to work the exact same way. And so just another quick thing to review from yesterday. If I want to put that same decimal on a hundreds grid, that's what we reviewed yesterday, or we did yesterday. So 3/10 like that is equal to 3/10 like that. This is the decimal version of this fraction. And that's 3/10. Remember, we talked about on a hundreds grid, each column is a tenth. That's a tenth. That's a tenth, because there's 10 columns. Right? So if I want to do 3/10 on the hundreds grid, that's 3 columns. 1, 2, 3. And so if I do that, if you think about the fraction, that's 3 out of 10 columns are highlighted. Or 3/10 this way, same thing. 3/10 of the grid is shaded. Okay, so that's how we did them yesterday. Today we're going to put decimals on the number line, and we'll have 2 different ways to represent them. All right, I'm going to do 2. So I'm going to show how the number 4/10 on a number line. So to me, the easiest way to put these on a number line is to remember that they're a fraction. That is the fraction 4/10. That's all I have to do. That is super easy to put on a number line. We've been doing it for months. That might be a little harder. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to think about the fraction instead. So I'm going to make my number line. I'm going to go from 0 to 1. And I've got to partition it 9 times to get to 1. Remember, 1 is going to be 10/10. So I got 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 10/10. And maybe, I can label, maybe I can do fractions underneath, if that helps you. Or, probably more precise, is to put the decimals. Since we're dealing with the decimal, we're putting the decimal on there. It's going to be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then 1. And you always remember those are the exact same thing as the fraction. So if the decimals confuse you and you want to think of the fraction, putting the fractions on there, you can think of that too. Since I'm putting the decimal on here, I put the decimals on the number line. So all I then have to do once I've got my number line labeled is just put my mark at 4/10. There you go. So that's where 4/10 is on a number line. What if I've got one that has a whole number with it? What about 2 and 6/10, like this? So if I want to do that, again, I'm just thinking of this as being 2 and 6/10, because that's the same thing. I even say them the same way. So I won't be able to just make my number line from 0 to 1 now, because this is more than 1. So I have to be I have to make my number line consist of more values. I've got to go at least up to 3 because this is more than 2 but less than 3. So I'm going to go all the way up to 3. To save some time, I don't necessarily need to partition the whole thing into tenths. I don't have to do 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. Maybe I'm just, since I know this is between 2 and 3, it's somewhere over here on the number line, I'll just partition only that part. I think that should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get my pen, and I'm going to partition here. So I got to do 9 partitions to get to 3. So that's 2 and 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. Those are too close. I think I can go a little farther. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 3. And sometimes when they're this close, I'll do I'll put 2 and 1/10 there, 2 and 2/10, then above, then below, then above, then below. And now that they're there, I can get my decimal in there. All I've got to do is put my mark at the right spot on my number line. So I'm looking for 2 and 6/10, and that is right here. And that's it. All right, open your notebook. Let's do a couple together. All right, let's start with 7/10. Shows the number 7/10 on a number line. Always good to remind yourself you're really just dealing with 7/10 because you can. This I know you know how to put in a number line. So if you ever forget how to put this in a number line, just remind yourself that it's just that, because I know you know how to do that. All right. So this is less than 1, so I only have to go from 0 to 1. And partition, remember, this is going to be my 10/10 mark right here. 1 is my last mark, so I need 9 partitions. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 10/10. And I'll go ahead and label them. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6, 7, 8, and 9/10. And then once you've got that, all that's left to do is make your mark at 7/10. There it is. That is 7/10 or 7/10. Same thing either way. 2 different ways to write the same thing. All right, go ahead and pause if you need to finish this. I'm going to go on and do one with a whole number in it. So let's finish up with this one, 2 and 1/10. So here again, I can't just go from 0 to 1 now. I got to go past 2 because this is past 2. So I'm going to have to pass 2 to make 2 and 1/10. So I'm going to go 0, 1, 2, and I have to pass it, so I'm at least going to go to 3 on my number line. And to save yourself time again, you don't have to partition the whole thing into tenths. If it helps you, it's a lot easier. Just do the section you're going to need. So I only really need to go between 2 and 3. So 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 3. And I'll mark them. Sorry, it's hard to see my decimals, I know. Hard for me to write with this thing sometimes real neatly. All right. And once I have labeled my number line, all that's left is to mark 2 and 1/10 right there. All right. That, my friends, is how you represent a decimal on the number line. So now we've got 3 ways to do it, really: base 10 blocks, hundreds chart, and number line. Once you've got these examples written down and you feel like you've got a good command of this, you're all set. We'll do your UDOs tomorrow. Bye.